Hello, hi. Today wrapped up heroic raid testing on the PTR. The first boss we tested was Nymue. Just a heads up, the fight had a bit of lag, so the footage might be choppy in places. The encounter is set in a room with hazy walls that inflict a 6-second damage over time effect called Verdant Matrix whenever you pass through them, and it can stack. You'll find yourself maneuvering through these walls to dodge various mechanics throughout the fight, with the main one being Threads of Life. This places a dagger on random players, and to minimize the damage, you'll need to guide it through one of these walls. If you fail to do so, it'll deal damage to the whole raid. If multiple players mess this up, it's a wipe. Fortunately, there are safe spots in the walls created by Violent Flora. These are green grass areas that randomly appear near players. We did our best to bait these onto the walls. For the tanks, there were two abilities to watch out for. Threaded Blast, which dealt a hefty amount of physical and nature damage to the primary target, and Weaver's Burden, which bestowed a seed that could grow out of them after 12 seconds, leaving behind a patch of green grass and damaging anyone within 20 yards. At 100 energy, Continuum summoned 2 Cycle Wardens on each side of the room to shield Nymue until they were defeated. They also dealt damage to the raid while they were up. After each time this was cast, all abilities increased in frequency. In this particular footage, we managed to make it to 5 cycles before wiping around 19%. I think this boss room is really beautiful, but the fight does have some drawbacks. It's not really melee or dragon friendly because Nymue is stationary. It also felt like some mechanics could benefit from clearer visual indicators. That's all I have for this boss. I will pick up the voiceover at the next one. Moving on to Tindral Swiftsage, this is the second to last boss in the raid, and he has 3 phases with 2 intermissions and a plethora of abilities. He's a druid who can shapeshift into different forms based on the phase of the raid. With later phases utilizing all of his forms. Each phase introduces mechanics from the previous one and adds a few new ones into the mix. To start, he'll target several players with falling stars, essentially a run out and don't hit anyone else ability. He follows this with mass entanglement, which roots all players in place and creates vines that need to be dealt with. If you're a druid or have movement freeing abilities, you can sneak out of these quickly, but otherwise it requires DPS to clear. To keep healers on their toes, Fiery Growth targets several players, which needs to be dispelled, leaving a large fire patch behind when removed. Tanks had to deal with Searing Wrath, a 20-second stacking dot, and Blazing Mushrooms, which worked similar to the Z-Skarn bombs that needed to be soaked, but they're larger and more scary damage-wise. After shifting into Moonkin form, he'll fill the arena with several fire beams, and this goes on for a bit before it's finally time to leave the platform. To leave, we need to get on our dragon mounts, so to mount your dragon, you'll need to pick up a feather and use your extra action button, and then you can hop on. During this intermission, there are 2 types of orbs in the sky. Orange ones, which are bad, and green ones, which are good and increase everyone's damage. Healers and tanks should try to snag the green ones while DPS rush to the platform. You'll need to burn through his Supernova Absorb shield before his cast ends, or it's a raid wipe. His new ability on this platform is Seed of Flame, which spawns seeds around the room that the raid needs to soak, or else they'll spawn fire trees that pulse damage to the raid. As for how this will play out on live servers, we're not entirely sure because we had 2 intermissions and almost reached a 3rd platform before wiping, but he still had a lot of health. If this is how the fight is intended to be, it might involve a lot of flying around and dealing with shields, which could be kind of annoying. Anyway, that's a wrap for heroic testing this week. Normal difficulty is open all weekend, so I might have more footage to share later. How do you feel about these boss fights? Let me know in the comments below. Okay, bye!